Aha. Yep, testing for sound. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Testing for sound. 1 2 1 2.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Hello again, Saint Lucia. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name is Philip Sidney, your host. Today we are here to discuss the identification and the management of two pests that have entered Saint Lucia. You'll hear all about that when it was first identified and the economic impact it has on the agricultural sector. As you are well aware, we have sensitized you on the Fusarium oxysporum, which is known as tropical race 4, and better known as TR4, which affects the Musa species, that is banana plantain and the likes. We have given you enough information, but we still will give you and continue to give you more information. As we speak, there is a workshop held in Saint Lucia for the week. There are about 10 countries here to share information, to look at an action plan and a regional strategy for not the control, because it's not here in Saint Lucia yet. It's hovering around, but we need to take caution to ensure that, knowing our borders are very porous, and of course we can have no control. People are moving from country to country, and of course we can bring in the disease. So it's pretty close to Saint Lucia or the islands. But then today we are here to speak about two pests that are in Saint Lucia. And with me to discuss those two pests, we have Laura Francis, who is an agricultural officer attached to the research division in the Ministry of Agriculture. And of course we have Johnny Smith, who is a crop protection officer, also attached to the plant research unit in the Ministry of Agriculture. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Great. Laura, I'll start with you first with the Breadfruit Mealy bug. I'm sure people have seen it, but they don't know it is a hair, what it is. So tell us about it. Provide an overview of the pest. Give us a description of the pest.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sidney. The Breadfruit Mealy bug, which has the scientific name Isoia caesarum, is an insect that is very common in other countries. But it has entered the shores of Saint Lucia on March 20th, 2024. Okay. It's a polyphagous, meaning that it feeds on several species of plants. It's a phloem feeder and a honeydew secretor, produces honeydew. And also it feeds on the sap. Now it affects agricultural countries because of the high feeding on that sap, where it consumes the protein. So it needs the protein to produce for growth and reproduction. Now Isocia was discovered in South Africa in the early 90s, and we have it here right now. So what we have to do, we have to ensure that we have IPM strategies which can manage it. But before management, we must identify the pests. Okay. And for quick identification, the samples were collected when we detected it, and it was sent to Florida Department of Agricultural Services. And we got the confirmation that it is actually the Breadfruit mealybug.
So tell us about the life cycle of that mealybug.
Okay, great. The life cycle, it has an incomplete life cycle, meaning that it has the egg, it has 3 nymphal stages, and it has the adult. Now, the egg to the adult would take at least 6 weeks. The egg hatches around 1 to 2 weeks. That's the time frame. For the nymphal stage, it lasts from 2 to 3 weeks, meaning that it has 3 nymphal stages, 3 instars. Normally, they are light yellow in color. And the adult lifespan is at least 1 to 2 months.
Okay. So, at what stage, in terms of control, how would you control that pest?
Okay, for control, like I said, identification is key. So we need to identify the pest, and we must know the economical threshold of the pest. So we know it's 27 adults underneath the leaves. They normally are underneath the leaves, the midrib. 27, per leaf. So once we know we have that, we need to resort to management strategies, which entails cultural. Or even before that, we have monitoring. We need to monitor the pests, what environmental factors they like, what is conducive to them. For example, we know we have 4 generations of that pest. And then we also know that there are 4 peaks, 1 in March, 1 in June, 1 in August, and September. Okay. So if we know that, we'll be able to manage it. We know as the temperature increases, the population density, increases. And there's a negative correlation with relative humidity. So as the relative humidity increases, the population density reduces. So we know that can help us effectively manage isocya. So we can use biological control also. The use of the ladybird beetle or the lacewing bugs or parasitoids, wasps or parasitic wasps, we have that in the natural environment. If we use excessive pesticide, we know our natural enemies can be affected. So we need to ensure that if there's not enough, we can release some into the environment to properly manage the breadfruit mealybug. We know we need to do field sanitation as a part of culture and culture, where you prune the plants, you pile up all the debris, and you put it in a garbage bag to be disposed. Also, we can use spray oil, which is the mineral oil, as to control it. Put it in a mist blower and apply it. Also, we can use the liquid soap, which can be used in a mist blower to control it. Now, small homeowners or those people in the backyard gardeners, they can hand pick, mechanical control. Pick it, take it, and then destroy it. So all this can be done before we resort to pesticide.
So that's if it's identified. So you're talking about alternative hosts then, because in the breadfruit tree, how would you be able to actually get there and control apart from using the mist blower?
Okay. Apart from using the mist blower, because it's not only, since the name is breadfruit mealybug, that doesn't mean only breadfruit.
Right.
We have mangoes, avocados, guava, pawpaw, even vegetables like lettuce, tomatoes, peppers, it can be a host. Okay. So if it's in the breadfruit tree and it's very high, they'll have to prune the tree, or if they can get a mist blower, and then they have to spray it because it's normally underneath the leaf, the midrib.
Okay, so it does not affect the fruit?
Yes, the insect does not directly affect the fruit, but it affects the leaves. Now, it causes the honeydew. The honeydew secretion causes citamol, powdery substance on the leaves and on the fruit. That can be unattractive. And then, that can be unmarketable. So it actually affects the fruit.
Okay. Where is that pest identified in Saint Lucia?
Okay. It was first identified in the Roseau Valley, region 7. And then as time progresses, it was detected in region 1, which is Grand River Grosile, region 2, at the Babono and the Union area, Kako Babono to be specific, region 3, and region 8 at Bexon.
So currently, are you all out there speaking with farmers to sensitize them as to the identification of the pest?
Yes, currently what we're doing, we have a plan where we can, since we identify, then we can go out, have trainings, identification training, IPM training, and then we can go and do an island-wide survey to know exactly where the pest is. We know we have some pockets in different regions, but we need to do an island-wide survey to know exactly where the pest is, and then we can take other actions with the IPM.
Okay, great. As you mentioned IPM, a lot of people are hearing it.
Yes.
So that's the acronym. What is it?
Yes, sorry. It's integrated pest management. In that capacity, we know pesticide is the last resort. In terms of the breadfruit mealybug, we know that there are pesticides. If it reaches the economic threshold, there are pesticides that can be used. Preferably, we want healthy, wholesome food to consume, right? So if we are using a pesticide, we need to use one that is environmentally friendly, that will not target other pollinators or other natural enemies. So in doing that, we know that when we are using a pesticide with at least a green band, that we do not rotate the same family. For example, the neem oil is very effective. Nemex is very effective. Nimecidine is very effective, but they are the same active ingredients, which is azadirachtin. So if we're doing a rotation, we need to identify the family of the pesticide in order to properly manage the breadfruit skill, mealybug.
Johnny, I'm coming to you. There's another one that has been in Saint Lucia. I don't know how long you'll tell us. The tomato rosette mite. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the tomato rosette mite was detected in Maki. Maki is sometime in June.
June this year?
Yeah, June this year, June 2024.
Okay.
Yes. The tomato rosette mite, the scientific name is Aculops lycopusisi. The mite, the issue with that rosetting mite is that it is found underneath the leaf.
Okay.
And it's also microscopic. Yes? So that means you would not see it with your naked eye. What would be required is that you'd require a microscope or a very high magnification glass, yeah, to see the mite. So it causes this. So what you have to look for is the symptoms. In other words, since you cannot see the mite, you would have to depend on the symptoms to try to narrow it down to the mite. So what you would see in the field in terms of symptoms would be a bronzing of the stem, the outer stem. So bronzing of the stem, and what would happen, it would move upwards from the soil, from the base of the plant, going up the plant. Where you would look for the mite would be just after the damage part of the plant, going into the green part of the plant. So you would have the bronzing area going into the green area, and the density of the tomato rosette mite would be highest in that part of the plant. So if you are trying to identify what's causing the issue with the plant, you would want to look there on the plant. You'd also have cases where other symptoms such as leaf discoloration, where the leaves turn yellow, upward curling of the older leaves. So what you would get, the older leaves are normally the leaves lower on the plant. You would see upward, the leaves would curl upwards. But you just see the upward curling, but you would not know what's causing the upwards curling. The tomato rosette mite is temperature sensitive in that the life cycle would happen much faster in higher temperatures. So the higher the temperature, the quicker you would get the life cycle occurring. Normally in high temperatures, you could get it for as short as 6 to 7 days. That's from egg to adult. The female can lay up to 53 eggs. And because of the short life cycle with the mite, control or management is challenging, because you could see within a very short period of time, you can have a number of generations. Okay. So it is important to identify it as early as possible. But I'd like to stress that it's microscopic. You will not see it on the plant. So what we have to depend on is the symptoms in the plant.
Has it reached an economic threshold for concern?
Yes, in the area it was detected, it was at an economic threshold, meaning that it is affecting the plant in terms of yield. It's reducing the yield. It's negatively impacting the yield of the plant, in that the tomato plants are unable to really set fruit because of the high damage that is happening to the plants. Because when you're talking about damage to the leaves, that would mean that you don't have your food production and thing happening in the plant. So that would really cause a reduction in terms of yield. And where it was detected, what we saw was that you would have the older crop, which is infested, and the practice of planting a younger crop close by, the wind was carrying the mite from the older crop into the new planting as well. So this is one of the things that you'd have to look for when you talk about management.
Okay, in terms of control.
Control, yeah, so in terms of control of the mite, there are many ways you could go about controlling the mite. But the first step, as was mentioned earlier, we subscribe to the IPM, the Integrated Pest Management Approach, which says that you would explore all other options before chemical. Most times when people hear IPM, they think, okay, it's no chemicals. But then chemical would be your last alternative, yeah, your last resort. And then even when you resort to chemicals, it would be the chemicals that are greener chemicals, and you'd progress into some of your more the harder chemicals. But for control, for management, where we want to start is with the seedlings. You want to plant clean planting material. You want to ensure that your planting material is clean, meaning that it's free from the pests. Right now in the 7 regions island-wide, 7 or 8 regions? 7? Yeah, 7 regions. The detection material is available for the mite. So if a farmer suspects or they want to ensure that they don't have the mite, they could simply take a sample of your plant to the extension office, and they would be able to assist them in detecting an ID, a preliminary identification of the mite right there. So, but the first step is to ensure that you are planting clean planting material, because if you're planting infested planting material, you're starting off in the wrong place already. So, so once you have established that your planting material is clean, then you can go into your field and say, okay, now as I mentioned earlier, you want to ensure that you don't have a crop next to that new planting that is already infested with the mite. So that also has to be taken into consideration, because if that's the case, the mite can move on the wind or farm clothes, the workers can carry it across, or tools. So you want to ensure that there's not a crop which is infested. Additionally, we have maybe a habit where we have crop residue. So after we harvest a crop, the crop would sit in the field for a number of, after your last harvest, the crop remains there unattended, or we do not remove the crop residue. So that in itself is a place where a home for the mite, and it can sit there waiting for the next crop when the next crop comes around. And not just waiting, it's reproducing, and the population density is actually going up in that area. So we want to encourage the prompt removal of crop residue in the field at that stage. So we did the clean planting material, looking at your neighboring plants, your crop residue, and then you're coming to the application. So normally, once you detect and ID the mite in your crop, you'd want to take some chemical response to that mite. What is important, even before selecting a chemical or after selecting a chemical, is your application. The application method and approach, how you go about. From what we've seen, the mite is concentrated under the leaves. So you'd want to ensure that the mites are very, very small. So you'd want to ensure that you have a spraying application technique that would give you coverage. You want leaf coverage, and you want to get that coverage both on and under your leaves. You want to cover as much surface area of the plant as possible. So your stem, where the mites are found, and also the leaves, both the upper surface
and the lower bit of it.
And the lower surface. So for that, we were looking at maybe mist blowers or pressurized, motorized sprayers, which can give you that pressure and the mist that you need to really deal with that. Additionally, the planting of the tomatoes, we would like to encourage that the tomatoes be planted on one row on a ridge, as opposed to maybe the 2 on a bed, to give you management of both sides. So when you pass with the mist blower, you'd be able to spray both sides when you get, as opposed to missing a little of the center if it's on a bed with 2 plants.
Do you use a sticker?
Yes, and we would like to recommend that a sticker be used in the application of the pesticides for the mites. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Can one make a mistake in the identification, because in terms of the symptoms of another disease or another pest that affects tomatoes? Can you make?
Certainly, it can be confused with maybe Fusarium wilt. If we're not too careful, it could be confused with Fusarium wilt, which affects tomatoes. It's widespread in tomatoes. It's widespread across the island, and it can be, when you look as you have yellowing of the leaves because of the feeding, the piercing and sucking feeding, you would have yellowing of the leaves. So, and you'd also see the stem is browning or bronzing. Now with Fusarium, although we look for the browning or discoloration inside, sometimes a farmer might see it. And even the way the symptoms of the mite shows on the plant, a farmer might want to believe that it's a fungus in general, because it behaves, the symptoms displayed behave almost like a fungus on the plant. So yes, we'd like to urge them to be careful, because if you wrongly diagnose, you could be applying a fungicide, whereas it's not required, so that's a waste, and you would not get the fungicide working.
So it only affects tomatoes?
Yes, mainly it affects tomatoes. Cupulops, Lycopodium, as in the latter part of the name suggests, Lycopodium, Solanum, Lycopodium, the tomatoes. So it prefers very much tomatoes, but then like any living organism, if the tomatoes are absent, then it would stay on an alternate host, like for example eggplant, or peppers. So until it can get tomatoes again. It also overwinters on weeds as well. There's certain species of weeds that it overwinters, and as part of management, for all pests and disease, we encourage a weed-free growing area as much as possible.
So the alternative hosts, say you mentioned there, will it affect those plants similarly to the tomatoes?
Yes, similar. It produces the same, because its feeding style would be the same on them. It would produce the same thing. But normally what would happen is that because it's not a preferred host, it would not multiply or behave like it would behave on a tomato. So the population density would not be as like what happens on a tomato. For example, what the papers have shown is that in the tomato, as the population density of the mites, so as there are more and more mites, their feeding actually increases. So it's like, because they are friends around, they feed in more.
In our parlance, in this way.
So you get that kind of behavior happening on the tomato.
Okay. You mentioned about planting material coming from nurseries. Okay, you sow your seeds. All right. So it doesn't affect the seeds at all.
No.
So it wait until it germinates and it's in the plant form.
In the plant form, yeah.
So how would you identify? For example, you go to a nursery and you're buying seedlings. What should you look for? Okay.
So primarily in the younger plants, what we've noticed here is that the younger plants show upward curling of the leaves, the older leaves. So when you buy a seedling, you go to purchase a seedling, we would want to look at the lower. So when you say older leaves, you're looking at the lower leaves on that plant, and then what you want to look for is the upward curling of the leaves. So they actually start to bend almost upward, and they coming inside.
Okay.
So that's an easy first step identification. And what we've seen in the field is that when you are looking at, let's say you plant a tomato plant maybe 3 weeks after transplanting, it shows that upward curling. And when you look at the leaf under a microscope, the population there the infestation is already very high. Wow. Even when you see. Now, by the time you see the damage I spoke about earlier, that's the browning of the stem, the symptoms, by that time, the population on that plant is already very, very, very high.
Okay. The big question, how did those two pests reach Saint Lucia? Sorry for you.
Okay. Normally the means of disperse of the breadfruit mealybug would be the crawler, windblown, also planting material, and human. So either three could have brought it to Saint Lucia's shores.
So in other words, if there is a Hurricane Beryl,
Yes.
are you saying that?
The storm, wind, the curlers.
And the same thing goes for?
Yeah, so since it's as we discussed, very, very small, so it easily can get on your clothes. And I know we move
from farm to farm or country to country.
Yeah, when we move from country to country in a few, maybe an hour. Sometimes the flight is an hour because it has been identified in other countries that maybe take 2-3 hours away from Saint Lucia. So I mean, if you just go by, it's on your clothes. You come in, it's on your clothing. It can be on plant material. It can wherever it can come in on your shoes. It might pass in some grass. It's easy. It can easily come into yeah.
So what do you, in terms of plant quarantine activities, coming through our ports, what are you going to tell the public? Any one of you?
Okay, so we normally when we raise the moving of plant material, a lot of people say like, why you all throwing my fruits?
Yes,
Why are you taking my
yes,
fruits?
yes.
Why are you taking? This is exactly why.
Exactly.
This is
Exactly.
And again, I want to stress it's microscopic. You can see it. So if it came in, you saw some nice tomatoes, or maybe some cherry tomatoes somewhere, and you say, okay, I want to bring that in. You picked it from up, and at the airport, one of the quarantine officers said, hey, we'll have to take that away because it's not allowed. It's prohibited. We're asking the public to work with us.
That's right.
Because the cost of eradication or management or control is much, much higher than preventing the entrance of the pests into the country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Laura, final words from you?
Yes. So we know that the breadfruit mealybug is in the shores of Saint Lucia. Now we need to do internal quarantine. We know that it's in certain areas in Saint Lucia. We urge the public not to remove planting materials from that area to another area that is pest-free. And also, we have our extension of quarantine officers continuously doing inspections. So we know when we have to export any crop or any produce that they do that before to prevent that mealybug from going and spread to other countries. So that is very critical, and we know that the quarantine officers are doing a good job, and we know that we can continue encouraging the farmers, the homeowners, and even the school students to ensure that they keep their eyes open, and once they see that pest, call us and we'll be able to help identify it and then take IPM measures.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Laura,
very much.
I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you very
Johnny,
much.
thank you again, and I continue doing a good job. I think that you're a fantastic. You're a scientist as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you very much.
Keep it up, keep it up. Before I end, I just want to remind you of our International Food Fair on the 13th of October, where to commemorate World Food Day. We're inviting all nationalities in Saint Lucia to participate. We want you to create your own country cuisine on that day, for sale on that day, and for us to have a good family day on that. It's a Sunday, so we're expecting you to be there. If you have not gotten information on that, please contact me at the Ministry of Agriculture so that I can give you some information, but I would love for you to participate. Thank you for viewing the program, and remember, agriculture is our business, and please contact your extension officer for any identification of pests that you do not know about, you're not aware about, is new to you, all right? Especially with the TR4, it's not here yet, but we have told you about the symptoms. Please inform your extension officer. Thank you again. I'm Philip Sidney saying goodbye and see you again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.